What is going on, you guys? Today I have another episode for you where we're going to be reviewing the MOA podcast with Michael Sartain, and he's interviewing Rollo Tomasi on the brutal truths about women men learn too late. Let's get into it.
Hypergamy doesn't care. The children are biologically yours or not. Hypergamy doesn't care if she was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. Hypergamy.
One of the most moving things from your books was hypergamy doesn't care.
Doesn't give a
Have you guys, do you have those quotes? Do you have those?
Hypergamy doesn't care.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to see what you guys think of this. So hypergamy is basically the denotative definition of hypergamy is a woman dating out of her own caste.
It's women's mating strategy.
Yes. The connotative definition is what you said.
Alpha bucks, beta bucks.
There you go. Or
Wait, what?
Alpha bucks, beta bucks.
Okay.
It's cads versus dads. The hot guy on the phone cannon party versus the guy who you want to go marry and settle down with.
Okay.
And it's the guy you bring home to mom and dad and versus the guy that you hope never shows up in your parents'
Get home.
Yeah, exactly. When I talk about like men and women's mating strategies, men's mating strategy is very straightforward. It's unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And if you don't, guys have fight me on this occasion, like, oh, if you don't believe me, just look at why is pornography free and 4K and streaming, and it's like that's because it's unlimited access to unlimited sexuality.
and when you survey men who live in the caste or homosexual men, they talk about having 300 sexual partners in a year. That is what
unlimited access to unlimited.
That is what unfettered male libido looks
for
like.
women. It is alpha fucks and beta bucks. So it's like the fun hot bad boy in your youth and the guy who is sexually aroused. There's a difference between arousal and attraction. If you ask a woman, what are you looking for in a guy? They're going to say, well, he's got to be nice. He's got to love his family. He's got to want kids. He's got to like Disneyland. He's got to be funny. He's got to be intelligent. He's got to make $5 million. He's got to have all these sort of things that are like, well, first of all, they sound like you're being prudent about everything. But if I say, what is arousing to you in a guy? Oh, he's got to have, what do you got, 26-inch guns there? He's got V-taper, chiseled jawline. He's got to be at least 6 foot tall. And so those are the arousal. Arousal is different than attraction. So, but the reason for that is because bucks, beta bucks. There's the arousal side of hypergamy, and then there is the long-term security side, which is the beta bucks. Provisioning, protection, and parental investment is the opposite side. So as women get older, they tend to reprioritize those things. So maybe when you were 23, it was all about, man, he's hot. I got to get with this guy. This looks like a good sexual opportunity. Versus when you get to be 29, 30, 31, or 37, and then you're going, okay, now I can take looks, and I still want a hot guy, but looks is not number one on the list. It's number 2 or 3 or whatever it is. He's got to have $5 million. That's at the top of the list now. And so it's more about the long-term security that women are looking for. That's why I say the hypergamy is basically fundamentally the balance between alpha fucks, arousal, short-term genetic benefits. I want to have his babies versus, okay, this guy is a good long-term bet for my future. He's got a lot of money. He's not as fun as the guy back in college, but he's a good bet for my future because he's going to be a winner, or he is a winner. He's got a lot of money. He's not as cute as the guy I used to bang back in the day, but I can sort of, my priorities are different, so I can get with him. That's the beta bucks side of hypergamy. And so what I talk about in Hypergamy Doesn't Care is that.
So let me translate, because that was a lot, right? So the simple way of saying it is hypergamy is always going for your best option. And truthfully, I think men and women both do this. Now he's saying that women do it more than men. Like men just want like unlimited sexual access because they have like a high libido, and then women just wanting their best option. I think honestly, like men and women both want their best option. Of course, it depends on the person, right? But it's interesting what he's talking about, because he was saying like at a certain point, like she was prioritizing kind of like the quote unquote Chad or Tyrone or whatever you want to say, like the hot guy versus the guy who can provide, right? Like he's like maybe stable financially, et cetera, right? And then at a certain point when maybe she can't get the Chad or the guy that she's really into, she sort of compromises for the guy who's like simply the provider type. And this is why I'm going to say this like right up front here too. Like this is why it's important for you to level up all areas of your life, right? Continue learning, developing your character, going out, doing things that are interesting to you, making sure that you're developing skills, you're working hard in the gym, you're working hard on your finances, maybe being self-employed or starting a business, whatever it is, right? Being essentially the whole package, right? You want to work on all these different areas and not shun one of them, because you essentially become the best option by doing all those, rather than being one of the guys who like put all his energy into the gym or all his energy into finances. Because you've seen the guys who are like really unhealthy, or they have no time because they're wrapped up in their business like 120 hours a week, or maybe they're out of shape, they're appearance is bad because all they do is like work, 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 hustle, hustle, and this is why figuring all this stuff out to be the most attractive option on all fronts is what you should be going for.
There are things that guys believe are buffers or ways of sort of like doing something, doing value added that is going to in some way convince women to not be hypergamous. And that's why this is like one of my number one most agitating posts that I've ever done, because I'm like, hypergamy doesn't care about your wedding vows. Hypergamy doesn't care about the times, how many times you did homework with your kids.
I'm curious what you guys think about this. So the idea of hypergamy meaning like it's not the highest status man that a woman can get. It's the highest status man that a woman can't get. And so that's a reason why you see like there's no reason for all these women to be hanging out with like Mickey Mace or Dan Bilzerian and Leonardo DiCaprio, because they're not going to get him to settle down. Some women think they're going to get him to settle down. Why would they even be with him in the first place? Because they're seeking the validation of a man they can't get. Again, so how many women would sleep with Jason Momoa if they just had a chance to do it one time? They would still do it, even though they can't get him. They would still do it, right? Because there's a certain level of attraction.
Hypergamy doesn't care about how great a father you are to your kids. Hypergamy doesn't care about how you rearranged your college majors and career choices in life to better accommodate her. Hypergamy doesn't care how inspired or fulfilled you feel as a stay-at-home dad. Hypergamy doesn't care that you moved across 4 states to be closer to your long-distance relationship girlfriend. Hypergamy doesn't care how supportive you've been of her decisions or if you identify as a male feminist. Hypergamy doesn't care about the sincerity of your religious convictions or your aspirations to a higher purpose. Hypergamy doesn't care about those words you said at your wedding. Hypergamy doesn't care about how you funded her going back to college to find a more rewarding career for herself. Hypergamy doesn't care how great a guy you are for adopting the children she had with other men. Hypergamy doesn't care about your divine forgiving nature in excusing her youthful indiscretions. Hypergamy doesn't care about your magnanimity in assuming responsibility for her student loans and credit card debt.
Youthful indiscretions, I guess you could include the student loans and credit card debt, but also probably maybe potentially how much she was sleeping around or got intimate with guys before you, right? So keep that in mind too.
After you're married, hypergamy doesn't care if he was
She might say like, oh, the past is the past, babe.
Your best friend. Hypergamy doesn't care about coffee in bed you bring her or how great a cook you are. Hypergamy doesn't care about all those chick flicks you sat through with her and claimed that you liked. Hypergamy doesn't care about how well you do your part in household chores. Hypergamy doesn't care about how much her family and her friends like you. Hypergamy doesn't care if you think you're a good guy or about how convincing your arguments are for your sense of honor. Hypergamy doesn't care whether the children are biologically yours or not. Hypergamy doesn't care if she was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. Hypergamy doesn't care about how sweet, funny, or intellectual you are. Hypergamy does not care
That's so
if
bad.
if you never
It's
saw
worse.
it coming.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, fellas up
I
there.
lost you after the 5th one.
Hold on. Hypergamy doesn't care how many videos you make saying you hate Andrew. Women are not going to sleep with you because
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you can't negotiate desire. You're attracted to a man for these certain reasons, and all the reasons he just said does not make you want to sleep with him. That was kind of the point that you said. Not to put words in your
No,
mouth,
you go.
but it's like doesn't matter how many times you take out the trash, doesn't matter how many forgiving you are. You saw that video, that shot I showed you where it was this guy. He was holding up the sign. He goes, "I forgive your indiscretions, and I don't care if the kids."
That was
lie."
a hoax, but yeah.
Okay.
But still, it's funny
But-
because of a reason.
But anyway, the point was like you can forgive her indiscretion. She's never going to forgive your weakness. That's the issue, right? So that's the problem, and I'm just curious what you guys thought. You lost after
Too many people think
And by the way, like it's basically about how she feels about you right now, not all those things that you did for her in the past. That's what they're suggesting, right? And then also you continuing to be the best option for her, right? So, and these guys would talk about like, be careful if you hear the words like girls' night out, girls' trip, or we're going to Vegas, Miami, etc. Right? Like, it's not a good sign, right? Especially if it's with all of her single girlfriends. Or, I mean, even if they're going out to a bar or nightclub, right, with her girlfriends, like, what would be the reason, like, a responsible grown woman who wants to maintain a healthy relationship with her, her boyfriend, husband, father of her children, like, why would she be putting herself in a position like that? You tell me.
that doing like value-added things are a buffer against hypergamy. And again, it goes back to genuine desire. So the things that you do, like chores, like chore play for it, that's an easy one, right? Guys think that if they can negotiate desire and we're both on the same page and we're just going to have this, we're going to sit down at the table and we're going to discuss how you're going to me and how I'm going to be a better guy because of all that. Ends up becoming obligation. Negotiating genuine desire always leads to obligated compliance.
I don't really feel like you can. Genuine desire is genuine desire. If you're negotiating something, it's not genuine like that. In regards to desire.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I was going to say another way to look at it is like all the things you listed off would be reasons that we divorce men. Does that make sense? And it's like, he funded my college. Why would we divorce him over that? So it's like a lot of things that you don't really think about.
It's what I call relational equity. Like a guy's think, well, how could she divorce me? I'm Tom Brady. I make all how could she divorce me? I read to our kids before bedtime. I've been at every piano recital. I've been gainfully employed.
Like girls do when.
Right. So like, how could she divorce me, or how could she break up with me? I've done all of these things. I've been this guy. I've done all these things for her. She forgot that. That's basically what they're talking about. And also, I do agree with him about the thing about you can't negotiate genuine desire, which basically just means like her being really highly attracted to you, right? So there's certain couples, like you might hear from them and they'll say like they have a dead bedroom versus they're still just like as attracted to each other as they were in the early days, right? That means that they still have this genuine burning desire. And you hear about guys like saying like, oh, I'm negotiating like you know, like if I do chores, you know, we get to have some intimate time kind of thing. That's what they're talking about. And you definitely don't want to be in that place, right? Because that's a bad sign. Like she's not as into you as she was. What's the reason for that? Maybe start thinking about that, because that's a really bad sign. And hopefully you're not already headed in that direction. If you are, you know, I'm sorry, because it's hard to bounce back from.
Guys cheat. Like, why would he cheat on me?
They think it's a buffer.
I'm the best mom ever.
Yeah,
I birthed his children.
But you understand why they cheat anyway, right?
I understand why they
okay, cool.
cheat.
That's the thing. Like the statements he makes, I've had to explain to guys before, because they're like, "What are you talking about? Why would she ever cheat on me? I paid for this, this, and this." And I'm like, "That's why she's cheating on you."
Because you're nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even just you're nice. Like you aren't doing the things that like. I will tell you, I've had situations before where this like years ago, where this girl came over to my place. I had no intention of hooking up with her or whatever, and I was like, "Hey, you can stay in the guest room." And so she's like, "Oh, I can stay in the guest room. Cool." Just follows me into my room. And I've had situations before where I was like, "Hey, you can stay in my room." And she's like, "No, I'm sleeping on the couch." I've had situations before, like some of the photo shoots that we do before, I tell the guys, you tell the girls that they have to show up in lingerie. Some of them will be like, "I'm not coming." If you tell the girls they can shoot in whatever they want, they'll shoot nude. This is one of the situations where you're trying to create this level. You're trying to create this level of obligation, and that's the thing, man. Just charge it to the game and just let people do whatever they want. That's the issue. Like the obligation. Man, I'll tell you the one other thing, CJ. We've talked about this before. Where I have a girl and she'll like fly out to see me several times, and then as soon as I start paying for her flights, bro, everything changes. All of a sudden it's like, what is this, and why can't we go here? And you don't call me enough. And I was like, wait, everything was cool before. Now I'm paying for your flights, and now you're tripping on this.
You flew her out. Huh? You flew her out.
So it's better when you don't fly her out?
I don't know, but I do know this. It really sucks as a man sometimes when I start treating someone well and then they start changing their behavior towards me, because then it's like, wait, so things were functioning better. You know my history.
It pisses me off because that's my like love language. I love when people pay for things for me, but I have heard a lot of men say the same thing, that when I finally start doing the things that she wants me to do, or she presumably would want a man to do, that's when they will kind of start getting an attitude.
They're probably more used to some kind of abusive or unhealthy relationship.
I think
because it's a transaction. There's no genuine desire. It's a transactional arrangement.
If that's why, but I mean, like if I would like somebody and I wanted to be with that, like intimate with them, and they fly me out, it's not going to make me want to be
not intimate.
To be any more or less. And for me, that's more of a love language.
You're getting an extra sloppy blowjob.
Richard Hart was on a couple weeks ago, and he started talking about, well, the girls will like me, and then they'll come and they'll see that I own like 7 supercars and like $10 million worth of watches, and all of a sudden they don't. They were trying to make me wait. They're change all this kind of stuff, and the whole thing changes. And I was like, yeah, I mean that's what I've seen that personally. The same thing happen. So it just makes it very difficult when. We talked about this before. You remember I said this? Every time a girl goes on a date with a guy who's like a perfect gentleman and she makes him wait, and then she goes off and fucks her toxic ex, she makes the world 1% worse. Because what she's doing, she's rewarding the behavior of the toxic ex, and she's punishing every dude who treats him like a gentleman. I've seen this happen so many times, like firsthand. So now what happens? Honestly, that's where the beta male revolution, that book, came from. That's exactly what was going on. They kept getting treated wrong and kept getting told that something else was the case. You know what I'm saying?
That's because they believed in the idea that if I do these things, then I will be rewarded with sex. But men are like, we're problem solvers, but we're deductive problem solvers. So what does that mean? That means like, okay, I need sex, so here's the logical deductive flow. I need sex, you have sex, therefore I have to ask you, what do I have to do to get sex? Oh, I have to do these things? Okay, you go and do those things. Where's the sex? And it's not there because because you went and did those things for you, rather than just being about it when you first met that person. That's the difference between the two. Is if you're doing something to get it, then it becomes a transactional relationship.
They should just take it.
Well, that's like also follows kind of like the nice guy logic, because there's a difference between like nice and confident, kind, not a pushover. laying down boundaries, being able to walk away, right? Like that's like the nice guy behavior people talk about, where it's like they're trying to do all these things to get something out of them, right? The transactional part.
No.
Wait, just take it. What do you mean?
Maybe they should just take it.
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between transactional
I'm about
sex.
to get me too. Like, I'm gonna go take it.
There's a difference between transactional sex and validational sex. So there's the guy who has $5 million, and you're gonna f him because he has $5 million, right? Whether it's like on the table or if it's prostitution, obviously, but they're by inch or by mile. Transactional sex is I do these things, you reward me with sex. This is the A plus B equals C. Okay. Then there's the validational sex, which is I saw this really hot guy in the club. I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. I really wanted to fuck this guy because I felt like I was in the moment. I was aroused by him, and those are the guys who are like the same night leg guys, as opposed to the guys that you would make wait for sex. The reason why the sex is never worth the wait is because the guy who would wait in the first place is not the guy you want to fuck in the first place.
Yeah,
because if he was, you would have had sex with him in the foam
that's
cannon
true.
party.
Yeah, it's really hard if I just hypothetically, if I were to go out on a date with a girl, and after the first date, she's like, I want to make you wait. And then I ask her, so how long did you make your last boyfriend wait? And she said, I didn't. Do you guys see the problem?
Well, okay, so now when I'm dating, though, I have to tell you, like, even if I'm super attracted to him and I want to rip his clothes
So you've
off.
changed now.
No, I told you, I only slept with the guy, and honestly, it wasn't even the first night, it was the second night, but that's neither here nor there. The reason why I make him wait is because, yeah, I want to rip his clothes off and be with him, but there has to be more than that.
Sure.
So I want to know that there's
course.
substance. Is this someone that I want to hang out with? Is this someone that I would, potentially bring home with me? Would I be able to spend multiple nights with you? So there has to be more than just the sex for me.
Okay, so all those things that you just listed off right there, the more than just sex, those are all the things you are attracted to. The sex part, like, okay, he's hot, he looks really
Yeah.
good, I want to get with him, that's the arousal side of it. If you have a guy who is not that arousing to you, but he has all those other qualities, are you going to that guy, or are you going to make him wait for sex and you're going to make him like jump through the hoops and make
No,
rules
it's
for him?
really
Awesome, guys. Well, definitely an interesting video there. I think the most important part is him going over the, like, hypergamy doesn't care if this, right? So, because those are all things that happened in the past, and how she felt about you in the past, and the only thing that exists right now is the present, right? So I know this is like a hard pill to swallow because it makes it like kind of like annoying, like, oh, I've done all these things for her, this and that, right? And I'm sure there's gonna be some guys that watch this and be like, oh, like, well, that's why I've given up, bro. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, look, it's okay. Like, you can choose to do that. I don't encourage it, of course. I want you to enjoy your dating life. I want you to find a great partner for you that maybe you can settle down with long term and have a fulfilling relationship. That's what I want for you watching this, right? So it's not helping you to be like, well, that's why I gave up, bro. But I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you, right? I'm just sharing these videos and these ideas so you can get a better idea of what's going on psychologically. Because if you think about in the present, I heard this really good point from a guy named Psych Hacks. He's got another good YouTube channel. You should check him out. He was talking about this point where he was saying, when a woman says something to you, right? It's like, she says, like, I'm mad at you, right? You should insert two things there. I feel mad at you right now, right? And I know this sounds so simple, but always remember that when she says something like that, like, she's like upset, frustrated, or it could be for good things too, right? Or like, it could be like, I love you. I feel like I love you right now. That's a hard hitter. Like, that one sucks to hear. But, like, obviously it can change because sometimes they, step out of the relationship. Sometimes they don't want to be with you anymore later. So you got to think about these things. Like, it's kind of a constant evolving thing, right? Like, because guys, like, just for example, like, let's say you were the full package, right? Looking good, finances, you can provide for her, your family, etc. You're like the perfect package. If you kind of like let some of those things go, like your body, your finances, you're not working as hard as you used to, she's going to notice, and she might not feel the same way as she used to. She might not be as attracted as she used to, right? Which isn't a good look on your part, which means that you have to consistently put in that effort to have that genuine burning desire, that high attraction from her, right? Because you want her to consistently be thinking, this guy's awesome, this is my best option. So, I know that was a bit of an ear beating, but, I think some of you guys are going to get some good ideas and perspectives out of this, and it'll help you kind of just moving forward with dating. And anyways, if you made it this far, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend that you think may benefit from the message, and I will see you in the next one. You got this, bro.